Hey everyone, welcome to this month's Crusade raid, which is Nibiru. Now this team is for Hell difficulty, and this is the most easily accessible team that I could think of and build to clear it on Hell difficulty. Now, it does require very specific units and skill ups, so we'll go over the boss skills to explain why that is the case. Alright, so first off, the boss is not immune to taunt, so it will target whoever's taunting, and it will do fixed damage to it. It's not a lot of damage, so it's very easy just to heal through it with any healer. The big damage will come from its normal skills, which I'll go over in a second, but the main point of this boss is it has extremely high defenses. This is not baked into like the base stats, but it will add on at the start of the battle. I don't know why they just don't put it in the stats like straight away, aside from the dodge damage reduction, but it is what it is. So basically, it is immune to control effects, charm effects, but it is otherwise not immune to any other debuff, I believe. So you can debuff it with reduced armor and reduced mobility and all that to help reduce the damage reduction it's going to have, because it's going to have max mobility, which means it's always going to dodge if you don't have anything that's reducing mobility. And the damage reduction from dodging is increased by 55%, so pretty much it will negate most of the damage. And then it will also have 85% armor plus a bunch of resistance. So you need stuff to reduce some of this to make sure it's not covering all the bases, right? Because even if you have like an ignore damage reduction unit like Angel Bolina, you will still have to deal with the mobility being maxed with high damage reduction and also 85% armor, and that reduces her damage by a significant amount. Right, so the idea is to have a unit that will debuff like these stats, right? But if you debuff the stats too much, it will start proccing these fixed damage. Right, so there's a lot of text here, but in summary, it basically just means if the boss's health is below a certain threshold, and it's also the armor is below a certain point, or res is below a certain point, right, and all these other stats, it's going to do fixed damage to all of your units. It's basically going to wipe your board. Like it's 95% of their HP, which is quite a lot. So it's a bit of a balancing act. Either you don't reduce it by too much, or if you're going to reduce it by more than these ratios, you need to have a unit that silences the boss. In my case, I'm using Mo, who definitely silences the boss. I'm unsure with like too many units will be able to silence it, because I think some of them might be considered control effects, but for whatever reason, Mo's one doesn't seem to be affected by that. So she does work, which means this is sort of why you need specific units for this boss. And that's the main gist of the boss. The boss is actually, right, it's difficult, but it's also not difficult at the same time. It's more like it's difficult to do big damage, and also like to survive long enough, right? Because if you don't do enough damage, then the boss will end at a certain number of turns, and you may not kill the boss. That's probably the main thing that people are going to encounter when they're failing to complete the boss, right? Even if the subs should work, they're probably just taking too much time. And that's probably because they don't have a unit that is reducing at least some of the armor, etc. Right? Alright, so let's go over the team. So first we have Mizo. Mizo is a more easily accessible armor buffer. You basically just want something that will buff the armor and or damage reduction of your main DPS, because there is a reflect damage, and if you don't have enough armor or damage reduction, then you'll just lose your DPS unit. It's probably better to have Lina instead, but I use Mizo because more people will definitely have her, and Lina does need to be leveled up a little bit, I believe, to be enough to buff your DPS. and keep it from dying. Alternatively, you can also use Fleur with overlimit. Yeah, obviously you want overlimit because then she's actually buffing your damage as well. But she does do armor buff. Worst case scenario, damage reduction, which helps stack on top of Lena's damage reduction. So you use those in combination. If you're unable to survive with Mizo by herself, then obviously add an extra defensive buffer. Either Fleur or Odora are easy to obtain units that will do that, and you basically just stack them so that both of them will buff onto your DPS. We have Franca here to heal. The heal is mostly for the Valentine Skaadi because the Skaadi is gonna take some damage, and you just make sure you want to heal it back up, rather than having to buff another defensive buffer onto her, right? Of course, we've got Maybelle, who is the best single target damage buffer. You could use Tina, but I did find that Tina didn't seem to work on hell difficulty, so you may have to turn down the difficulty to use Tina. Alright, of course, we've got Farnese to tank, and Mo is there to silence, right? So Mo needs to move after the boss, and then it will apply silence, and then whatever unit you're using to reduce the stats of the boss is moved after that. If you don't have Valentine Skaadi, there are other options. I don't know too many of them, but just off the top of my head, I know Lilith is an armor debuffer. I haven't tried her, but she should work. Also, all these units should work even if they're not leveled up, but you may need to awaken them. So maybe you have to level them up at least to awakening level, right? You have to check the skills to see if there's an ability that requires awakening to be used, and if that is the damage reduction debuffer, right? I think there was also some other units. I think Sophia is another one. She's a tank. I don't remember where she is, but you can probably look for it's Sophia with a Z. I have just too many units to scan through. Okay, so now with Skaadi though, she does have a requirement in this particular setup, which is rank 4. This allows you to do enough damage that you won't just die to the number of turns that the boss is going to take. The reason is because at rank 4, she'll gain the dodge damage reduction, which is a big one. Of course, she does reduce armor, but it's mainly the damage reduction from dodge that is going to grief you most of the time for most DPS like Bolina. So you want her to be at rank 4, and that will mean that at this rank, the boss will be below the threshold on, I can't remember which damage reduction type it is, but for that reason you need Mo in this setup, right? Now if you don't have Mo, then you don't need a Skaadi at rank 4. I will show you an alternative setup with a lower rank Skaadi. But if you are going to use Mo and you have her to do the silence, then you ideally want to invest into Skaadi to rank 4. You could rank her higher to rank 10, and of course you do more damage. But I don't feel it's worth the skill ups for that. You have to. So the next upgrade to that skill is at rank 8 and then rank 10. So that's quite a lot of books to invest into her, and I just don't feel it's worth it for this one boss. I'm unsure whether she's going to be usable on any other boss. As you've noticed from the previous bosses, none of them have had none of them were allowed to be debuffed, right? This is the first one we've gotten since launch. So I think rank 4 is a good enough stopping point for Skaadi. Alright, let's start the battle so you can see it in action. Okay, I also wanted to mention that the DPS doesn't have to be Bolina. You can use pretty much any good DPS. I would recommend either Valentine Chalissa or maybe Cynthia with overlimit, because the boss has 100% mobility, right? So anti-dodge is pretty ideal for this. I think I probably could have maybe tried to reduce the damage a little bit. I do have a leveled up Skaadi, so if you don't have a leveled up Skaadi, you might even be able to do a 3 hit on the boss, because you can see here that she's basically 2 hitting the boss, right? But maybe you could do a 3 hit to do higher over limit, overkill damage, right? I did find that Valentine Chalisa was actually performing better than Bolina, but it might be because she's doing less damage and therefore she's doing like a triple hit to kill. So that could be the reason. Now I'll show you one on insane difficulty with a lower requirements team. Actually, sorry, I know this is wasting a little bit of time, but I do have to go back and change my Skaadi. So the next setup I'm going to show you is without using Mo, because I think a lot of people won't have Mo if they don't care about PvP, because she's mostly just for PvP, right? But for this boss, she has like a random niche for this particular boss. In general, she's not used on any other boss. So to skill down, you just go to your skills, press down, and go press to the desired rank. I'm going to go to rank 1 because most people, if they picked up Valentine Skaadi from the Valentine event, they'll probably only have it at rank 1 or rank 0. If you don't have it at rank 1, it's quite easy. You just have to buy her resonance gear, which you can get from the command office. It costs you a bunch of materials, but it is the way to get it. You don't have to pull it from the banners, and that is the case for all limited units. Right, so now we'll go back into Joint Crusade, and we'll do insane difficulty. And the reason I dropped her down is because if I leave her at rank 4, the boss is just going to keep doing AoE damage, the fixed damage, and it will just wipe my team. Right, so we're going to do with this alternative team that does not have a Mo. No, wait, no, this is not the one. Alright, it's this one. Alright, so there's no Mo, but I did put a Fleur in. This Fleur is over limit. Ideally, try to at least have level 30. I don't know if it's going to work, but because mine's level 60 and I can't test it on level 30. But I think it should still work. I think it's mostly... I mostly needed her for the damage reduction, I think, from memory. But if you don't have Fleur, you could probably try a different buffer. Like you could probably try Odora or something. Something that buffs damage reduction and attack would be good. So Odora is this one, right? She is a rare unit, I believe. So 1 star. So you should have it already. The only other difference, actually, no, I think there's no other difference. So just that the Skaadi is now rank 1 for what most people will have, and this is doable on insane difficulty. So we'll show you here. I do want to note that all 3 of these supports are over limit. So if you don't have them, you could try Tina instead of Maybelle, but I'm not sure if it will work. But if you don't have it, then just drop it down another difficulty. Now this is probably going to take a while. I'll show you because the damage is not going to be very high, but it is doable. It just takes like many turns. So the Bolina didn't do a lot of damage, right? So I'm going to skip here and show you. So it is going to kill. It's going to get the kill score, right? But the turn score is quite low because she's not doing that much damage, right? So, but it is clearable, and if you can clear it on insane, then you will have no trouble getting your rewards. Alright, and so I'm going to do one more alternative team for expert difficulty. And I'm going to show you by changing up some of these units a little bit. So let's say you don't have Maybelle over limit, then you can run Tina instead in expert for sure. I've tried it here. And then instead of overlimit Fleur, we're going to use Odora, right? So this team is a lot more accessible, right? Now, if you don't have Valentine Chalisa, it's not Chalisa, sorry, Valentine Skaadi. I always get them mixed up. So if you don't have her, just use any unit. Like, look through your unit roster and look for units that reduce armor or like mobility, anything like that. I know for sure that Lilith's has armor reduction, so she needs to crit. So you might have to build her with crit chance cause or buff her with a crit buffer, right? A crit rate buffer. And then I'm not sure if she does anything else. Her awakening does some more, but these are her EX, so just keep that in mind. But that will also reduce armor and mobility. But it might be enough. It is 18 turns, so it might last long enough to do like 2 rounds worth of damage. So that could be an option. There are some other units. I won't go through all of them because I just don't remember them all. But just go through the units you have. Just look through the skill kit for something that reduces damage reduction. Alright, so the rest is all pretty much the same as before. You can use any DPS here, I'm pretty sure. So it doesn't have to be Bolina. You could probably even run Skaadi at Expert. I haven't tried it myself, but I'm sure it should work. And your tank, you also don't need Farnese. You could probably just use a Lilith. As long as she's awakened, you should be fine there. Alright, so I'm going to skip here and show you that it does clear. Alright, and there you have it. Those are the easiest teams that I could find for these, different difficulties. So make sure you can try to at least do Expert. Worst case, just do like whatever the highest you can. Just get whatever rewards you can. But ideally, if you're trying to get all the rewards, you want to do Expert or higher. But on the lower difficulties, you shouldn't have as much trouble clearing it. Alright, so that is it for this video. This is the version where I try to do the easiest team possible. I am going to do a separate video later for the max damage one. I still have some things to test out before I do that video anyway, so that will come out later during the event, probably in a few days or so. There's a lot of things I need to test, and I might be busy over the weekend as well, so I'm unsure how much time I can invest into that. But I will get that video out soon, so keep an eye out for that. Hope that's helpful. If you have any questions on this boss, I know it's quite difficult, so feel free to ask in the comments. I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.